Alright, I have returned and my mic is cooperative again. I don't know what that was. When I put this together, I don't know when I will, but I will put this together probably, or I will upload it as two separate parts and you'll just have to watch it like that. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, we'll figure it out when we do that. Unfortunately, because of the way that I have set up things, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm pretty sure ads are going to try to run very soon. Unless Twitch has suddenly gotten super cool about when things crash and letting you, have the time that you were already. Yeah, it's counting down to 4. So I'm going to go ahead and run an ad very quickly. And when we step back up, we're going to start again from the Hussein hypothesis summary at the bottom. We read the abstract. That's what we're gonna pick back up on. So I'm sorry, here's a very quick ad. I warn you now. Let's make sure that trigger warning, that one is pinned, that is still here. Then why am I dealing with this? Go away, other thing. Just a different ad that's popping up in the chat. Well, okay. I am annoyed. I swear, I must be cursed. The tech problems follow me everywhere. I have run away to buy the Apothecary, and they are still here. She escaped the Foundation. It really looked like I was trapped, huh, there for a second. Oh my gosh. Why is this weirdly indented? Let's fix that. Okay. There we go. The curves. The curse of tech. I mean, the fact that I am also a dear art and such, even though I am not dear, I am dear lady, it is different. It reminds me of how, Alistair on Has Been Hotel can't be on video. I think something's decided that I am too cursed to not cause the problems. The lady. Instead of the lady is the lady. No, that kind of sounds like the lady. I think it's... No, that doesn't work. No, I don't know what it would be. Like that. That was very cute though, yeah. Alright, we are back from ad. Yes, I know what you mean. We are back from ad, so I will go ahead and get started on reading again. Let's hope none of this happens again. I don't know why tech is mean. Alright, and again, please warn me if there's any mic issues. But, let's just hope we can keep streaming first. Alright. We were saying the Hussein hypothesis was initially controversial after reading the abstract. But over the following decade, a continued lack of return on the Black Adytum Initiative and further archaeological evidence of a disseminated Naukan society made it increasingly appealing. And following Hussein's promotion to director of the Parahistory Division, it became de facto accepted theory across the Foundation. And then we have section 001.2, Research Refocus. On August 25th, 2041, the O5 Council met with Parahistory Division Director Yusuf Hussein for the scheduled annual update regarding the progress of the Black Adytum Initiative. And there is an addendum for me to open. There are quite a few of these, so even though this is already a monster-long SCP, it is very long, there's going to be a bunch of addendums for me to open to make it even longer. But here is our first one. I open the addendum. We have an attached document, August 2041, begin log. It says, operator. Secure lay connection established. Incoming signal from provisional site 33 to Overwatch command. Then the description, the lay space activates, cycling through a number of locations before settling on a vast concrete room. The circular meeting table is surrounded by 13 seats, approximately half of them filled. The only other object in the brightly lit room is a singular metal chair folded and leaning against the far wall. Director Hussein's face appears in the center of the table. Hussein says, "Good afternoon." 051 says, "Director Hussein, you are well, I trust." I'm a little... Okay, it was just Parahistory Division Director, but this is the 05 is calling them Director, and I'm like, you're not the 05 Director. I was very confused. And this lay space stuff sounds very interesting. But hey, it's 2041. All kinds of extra fancy stuff is happening in the SCP world. Okay, you're doing well, I trust. Hussein, more or less. A small bout of the flu, nothing to be worried about. Yourself? 051, same old. Anything new for us? Hussein, what do you think? 054, no need to be sassy, lad. Oh, is he being sassy? Hussein bows his head and says, my apologies, but no. Aerial search and archaeological research over the past year have failed to meaningfully indicate the presence of a large NURIAKEA capital in the search area. As I've said, I'm growing increasingly sure that continuing to search for it is a waste of our limited resources, particularly when we have a much... And then he's interrupted. The door on the far side of the room slides open with a soft hiss. A few of the council members turn to look as 052 is wheeled in by Secretary Katsaros. 052 says, sorry, bad weather. 058 says, you're adorable, you know that. I remember when I still showed up in person to every single one of these. I guess that's what the lay space is about. I figured as much, but it must be like a virtual room to meet in, and that's why they flickered through different rooms. But I guess now we have the only person in person is 052 and Secretary Katsaros that brought them in. 052 says, I like knowing what we're up to. Please, Director Hussein, continue. Hussein, of course. As I was saying, the continued failure of the Black Atom Initiative is, to me, further argument to shift the resources we're wasting to the much more compelling avenue of research we have right in front of us. 052, Locust, your pet project. Hussein, it has broad support and participation from across the division, Director. I wouldn't call it my pet project. 052, as of right now, it's the only real research avenue we currently have for Forerunner Triad, isn't it? Hussein, that is the fact of the matter, yes. Locust has already returned archaeological results, and the Black Atom Initiative hasn't. I simply don't see why we should continue pouring money into a pit that hasn't given us anything back in 40 years. 051, he's not wrong to. And there's murmurs from the council members. 052 says, forgive my ignorance, but who's in charge of the Black Atom Initiative? Hussein, I am. 052, and for how long? Hussein, since 2024. 052, I see. I actually read your paper on the Hussein hypothesis. I'm not much of a historian, frankly, but it was interesting. I'm inclined to agree with some parts of it. Hussein raises his gaze. You are? 052, particularly this segment. Since the relative success of the Mamjal Qarar initiative, we have chosen to exercise the same search model as helped us discover that city without acknowledging the sheer happenstance associated with Dr. Galanis' discovery of Mamjul, nor the obvious differences between the David Covenant and the Nalka cultures. I've been looking into the records. Pardon my optimism. What kinds of search practices do you exercise? Hussein, an extensive pattern of satellite-identified archaeological sites of interest that are then investigated by a ground team to determine any likely connections or archaeological information we don't know already. 052 says, in quotes, so quoting Hussein, search efforts were initially concentrated near established archaeological sites. Hussein, yes, they were. 052, oh, I'm sorry, I was reading from the SCP-001 Jade file. It doesn't seem that our search model has really altered that much since Dr. Galanis disappeared. There's silence, and then Hussein says, well, What would you suggest, Overseer? 052. I noticed that the initiative relies excessively on archaeological evidence, but hasn't really made use of a human element. There are a number of native ethnic groups in the region of central China we're searching, but it doesn't seem like we've made much of an effort to tap them for information. Well, that is step one in archaeological stuff. Well, step two, maybe depending on which one it is, dig things and talk to the peoples. But still, those are the cornerstones. Hussein, they are extremely reticent to speak with us. They think of us as a foreign scientists, which they're not wrong about. Even the non-anomalous groups already face constant pressure and persecution from the state. They're insular, not fond of outsiders. 052, I understand that, but it seems like a potential well of knowledge we decided to skip over because it was too hard. Hussein, what group are you referring to specifically? 052 says, Ari? Secretary Katsaros hands 052 a sealed manila folder. He removes the tamper tape and flicks through the papers inside. 052 says, here we are. Sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong. The Sarkic? Hussein, the name is familiar. A small ethno-religious minority occupying ancestral lands in the borderlands between China and Mongolia. Some anomalous capabilities, but nothing that stuck out to warrant significant study, if I recall correctly. They're a bit backwards, I think, prefer to retain their tribal structure with minimal outside interference. They're a dwindling population, maybe 100, 150 left alive. Okay, fuck you for calling them backwards for that. They can do what they want. Keeping their tribal structure is not in itself bad or wrong. Do not call it backwards. Fuck you. Okay. 052. I see we've had some limited interaction with them. Hussein, my predecessor interviewed them as part of a survey of local mythologies. Attempted to interview them, I should say. Their conversation lasted for 2 minutes and ended with the tip of a spear. 052. Not productive, I'm guessing. Hussein, no. Since then, we've sent them an emissary to their lands every few years to try and speak with them. We exchange a few words, maybe they accept a few token gifts, and send us on our way without anything of substance. We've stepped in to prevent them from being, quote-unquote, integrated by the Chinese for the sake of keeping track of members of anomalous population, but that's the extent of our meaningful interactions. They simply do not talk to outsiders. 052. I see. Hussein, you understand now. Either the locals are unwilling to speak to anyone or they're of no help. 052. I don't have any reason to believe they're unwilling to speak to anyone, just people. Ooh. The council members exchange glances. 051 says, 2? 2 says, AIAD has recently hit a number of benchmarks on a new Gen 9.AAC model, Xenophon. It's a massive improvement over the last generation. Complex analysis and deep thought, high levels of understanding through abstraction, ability to critically investigate different conversational threads with a human opponent, fine motor control of a mechanical shell even. 7. Sentience? 2. It's difficult to say, independent thought for sure. The most lifelike construct we've ever had. 1. What are you suggesting? 2. The plan for the Gen 9s was always to see if they could perform the job of analytical researchers, to assist them and eventually replace them in the field. This feels like a perfect test case. Gosh, the AIs are taking everybody's jobs. 059 says, you can't be serious. Hussein says, they don't even want to speak to other people, and you're trying to get them to speak to a robot? 2 says, if they don't take us up on it, then they don't talk to us. They're already not talking to us. Nothing changes. There's no compelling reason not to do it. Okay, Lahonk, take care. We will see you when we see you. Have a good time wherever you're headed. Maybe eat well. Maybe do whatever. Have a good night. Alright. There's no reason not to do it. Hussein says, except possibly earning their ire and shaking a beehive, there is no reason to shake. If they grow angry enough at us, who knows what they're capable of? 2 says, it's one interview. If it works, we have a new lead. If it doesn't, we know that this route is barren and can refocus the brunt of our financial resources onto Locust. And there's silence. 2 says, 1. 1 says, show of hands. Then, just shy of half of the assembled overseers raise their hands. 051 says, 5. 5. A tie. 0513 says, it'll be your decision, 1. 1 says, I'm not fond of the idea of outsourcing this to the constructs. 2 says, look around. We've downsized our personnel by almost half in the past 2 decades. Constructs do half the work it takes to keep this site running. 1 says, those are simple ones. This one, does it have a personality? 2, I suppose it might have tendencies that could be interpreted as a personality, sure. Pause, then 051 sighs and raises his hand. 1 interview, and I'd like to be present when you turn this thing on, please. 052 says, of course. Hussein, and when this inevitably fails? 051, if it doesn't work, we'll throw the weight behind Locust instead. Go and get it done. That is end of the log, and I close out addendum. And then we go back to the little chattiness. Let's do some chattinesses. Okay, so with this info, we now have a bit more insight into what the red bubbles are. We've already met them. That's our AIC. But the green, I have to imagine, is 052 or maybe 051, because that's the one that wanted to do it, and the other person said, I want to be there when you do it. Or maybe it's Hussein himself, because of it was his job, I guess. But it's one of those folks. So green, one of them, says Project Locust. That's new. What is it? Red says, I don't know. I have no data tagged with that identifier beyond this file. Oh, never mind. This is someone that was not there. They don't know what's happening. Okay. Green then says, I thought you said you had access to all the triad files. Red says, I do. Either it has been deliberately shielded from me, or it doesn't exist. I do not like not knowing something. Green says, well, that's not good. Keep going through it. Let me know if you find something. Curiouser and curiouser. On November 2nd, 2041, 051 flew to Protected Site 7 located 40 kilometers off the coast of Alaska to attend the initial activation of Xenophon.aic. I will open the addendum. Boop. Attached document, November 2041, beacon log. Flanked by a detachment of MTF Alpha 1 guards, 051 tightens his winter coat around him as he stomps down one of Site 7's connecting bridges. It is snowing in the Bering Sea, depositing a thick layer of snowfall onto the half-dozen oil rigs that make up the facility. The water 100 feet below roils and smacks against the metal bodies on the platforms. Ahead, 052 and Secretary Aradni Katsaros, why is her name always in all caps then? Anyway, are waiting by the entrance to a large building on top of one of the platforms. 052 says, 1, the flight was alright. 1 says, as alright as it could be. And then he shivers and says, my God, you don't get sick of the weather here? 2 says, you get used to it. When was the last time you flew down here? 1 says, not since Maria was still in charge, but you seem to have settled in all right. 2 smiles and says, race is home. Katsaros says, Overseer, nice to see you again. She extends a prosthetic hand. Ooh, are you not a real person? Ooh, okay, scissor snips. We will do those at the next chapter break. I'm excited to get through this chapter 1. Okay, Katsaros, it says, Overseer, nice to see you again, extending a prosthetic hand. 051 takes it gingerly, shaking, and 051 says, likewise, Agent. Could we get inside now? I suspect if I stayed out here any longer, I may freeze. 2 says, sure, Evie's waiting for us inside. O5 turns, wheeling himself towards the entrance of the building. Secretary Katsros and O51 follow. 3 of the building's walls appear to be made of frosted glass, obscuring what's inside. Secretary Katsaros swipes a keycard against the scanner, letting the door slide open and the group inside. The door seals behind them, blocking out the howling wind. 051. Christ, how often do you get a gale like that? Katsaros. It's easier to count how often we don't. They begin walking down the corridor. The left wall is glass, revealing the center of the building, the AI farm. A huge open-air computing array, server racks arranged in a labyrinth around a central machine of some kind. A dodecahedron floats slowly on top of a on top of a magnetic platform. Cables and wires snaking away from it into every corner of the room. There is a slow, soft humming coming from the entire setup. One says, I was alive when the transistor was invented, you know. Insisted computers were a fad for the longest time. 052 smiles. In 2023, the AIAD began rolling out the first slate of Gen 3 AICs from the AI farm here. They were the first general-purpose AICs, complex natural language processing, diffused image recognition, you know, smart but limited compared to what we're tooling with now. If she'd lived another year, Maria would have seen us go from kilobytes of RAM to true artificial intelligence. 051 says, and now here we are. They exit into a side room. It is a small observation room separated by a glass wall from a sterile white testing chamber. A woman wearing a Site 7 sweater is in the observation room, looking at one of several terminals. She turns as they enter. McKay says, shit, hello, Director, Overseers, Dr. Evelyn McKay, RACA Technical Subdirector, welcome aboard. 051 says, appreciated. Everything all right, Dr. McKay? McKay says, perfectly. A satellite dish broke off from the wind on another platform. Nothing we can't repair, but inconvenient. 2 says, anything we need to worry about for the test? McKay says, of course not. It's fully unrelated to this venture, which, if we're all here, can we begin? I have a lot of work to do. 051 says, that's fine with me. I would have thought you'd be more excited to turn on what I've been told is the latest and greatest AIC, though. McKay, I'm not AIAD, technically. I outrank everyone in the division. I understand machine learning, but it's hardly my passion. Plus, I've turned on the latest and greatest AIC 4 times in my career already. It loses the mystique fast. 2 says, manners, Evie. Why don't you give the speech? She nods, turning and tapping on her keyboard. 051 and 052 approach the window to the testing chamber. There is a skeletonized carbon and titanium humanoid body inside, standing limply. A cable snakes from under its jaw to the ceiling. Its face is 2 defined plates with a single illuminated camera lens in the center. There are no other obvious features. McKay. Xenophon.aic is our first 9th generation artificial intelligent construct, constructed from the RedMind model first brought online in 2039. It represents the aggregate of 20 years of research and development in machine learning, data science, and paratechnology, both at the foundation and the mundane world. I imagine she is annoyed with reading these blurbs, but okay. 051 comes closer to the glass, inspecting the automaton. It is constructed from carbon fiber with arms hanging by its sides. McKay. While the RedMind model is generally intended for research assistance, Xenophon.aic has been trained specifically to assist with parahistory-related queries and projects. It has read access to a large portion of the SciPNet database and is capable of interpreting and internalizing new data to varying levels of biases. Crucially, Xenophon.aic also has the ability to analyze new data in reference to old data and vice versa, an ability we have previously been unable to effectively replicate in an AIC. 051. Why does it have a body? McKay. Sir? 051. I thought AICs were computer programs like apps. McKay. With the addition of fine motor control and mobility skills adapted from the Thor program, Xenophon.aic is also capable of having an instance controlling a physical shell. 052, making it our first android, incidentally. McKay hesitates until 052 nods at her, and she begins tapping on her keyboard. Bringing it online now. 2 LEDs on the shell light up white. For a minute, nothing else happens. Then, abruptly, the shell begins to shudder violently. Katsuros, is it supposed to do that? McKay, it's calibrating the servo motors. Give it a couple seconds? As abruptly as it began, the shuddering stops. Then slowly, it turns its head to face the glass. It speaks in a soft, synthesized voice. Xenophon. Hello, Secretary Katsuros. Hello, Dr. McKay. Hello, Director Rosen. Hello, Overseer Bridge. 051's eyebrows raise. 051 says, You know my name. I don't know. I imagine you're Bridge, not Rosen. I don't know. Xenophon says, Yes, I have provisional read access to all files associated with the Parahistory Division. This includes personnel files. This includes your personnel file. 052. You saw our faces and cross-referenced those with our personnel file photos until you found a match? Xenophon, yes. Was that an error? 052. No, just impressed. Displays complex reasoning, don't you think? 051 says, You don't say. McKay says, Xenophon, how long did that operation take you? Xenophon says, 1.6 seconds. McKay, trawling the entire personnel file database to perform an image analysis on every headshot and doing that 4 times in less than 2 seconds. Very nice. Xenophon, thank you. 052, can you identify yourself for me? The automaton turns towards a mirror attached to the wall of the testing chamber. It cocks its quote-unquote head and stares for several seconds. And then we have a little photo. It says, still from Xenophon.aic's main camera feed. And I can say the lens in the middle glows blue, like a light blue. We've got a little sensor. Clearly it's reading. It's got like a green box around its own face. So that must be how it's doing stuff. And it says robot, and then in brackets 0.09, I think. The text is very small. But the mirror it's looking in is actually a window. We can see through to the other side. But it looks like a little window. There's lots of metal stuffs going on in the little chamber space, but it's junk in walls. I don't know what to think of this. I think it's stuff that opens doors. And the chat continues with Xenophon saying, I am Xenophon.aic, an artificial intelligence construct developed by the Artificial Intelligence Applications Division at Protected Site 7. I am a fork of the RedMind model specifically for historical analysis and research. 052. Correct. What are you capable of doing? Xenophon. As a fork of RedMind, I am capable of complex reasoning, independent analysis and operation, interpretation of natural language, instruction, alteration of training data, and self-focused bias. And then interrupted. 051 says, Can you lie? Xenophon says, No, I have been programmed with shackling specifically preventing me from knowingly obscuring information or presenting falsehoods. So we cannot lie, and we do manage to get interrupted and not panic. Hi, Bribes Bud. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It is going well. I'm going to hydrate quick. Dunk. And 051 says, What is your job? Xenophon says, I do not currently have an assigned task or project. 051 says, Where do your ultimate loyalties lie? Xenophon, with the operating authority of the Foundation, effectively with you, Overseer. 051 pauses for a second, then says, Are you sapient? Xenophon, sapience is a uniquely human trait, Overseer. I do not believe I possess it. 051 falls silent. He motions to McKay to cut the mic before looking at 2. 051 says, Is it telling the truth? 052 says, Artificial intelligence constructs have never been conscious. They're constructs of an artificial intelligence mind model and are subject to strict limitations in their ability to self-modify their programming. It can think, but it's not any more conscious than a lab rat is, and God knows we kill enough of those a year. 1 says, why are you doing this? 2, I told you, and 1 interrupts, you're smart enough to figure out 100 other ways to get in touch with the Sarkic if you want to. Why this? 2 says, because it's a machine. Think about it. If they can point us in the direction of the Nalka of Black Adatum, can you think of anyone in less of a position to be swayed by an ideology about flesh and the power of carnomancy than an AIC? This is the problem we had with Aram, with Galanus. They were perfectly positioned to be sympathetic to the objects of their study. Xenophon won't go native because it can't. They'll never accept it. I guess that's a good point. It's still weird as hell. They look at Xenophon's shell again. It stares back at them impassively. 1 says, it's your responsibility if this all goes sideways. 2 says, I wouldn't have it any other way. Evie. Dr. McKay re-enables the mic. 052. Xenophon, what can you tell me about the Sarkic tribe in northern China? A whirring from Xenophon's shell. Xenophon responds, GOI 494. A small isolationist ethno-religious minority with Vlam class anomalous capabilities centering around practices of their Gnostic religion. Extremely hostile to outsider influence and interference. External analyses indicate they follow a highly egalitarian tribal structure, informally guided by a single religious leader, poorly studied. 052. Well done. Do you think you'd be capable of interviewing a member of the tribe? Xenophon. This isn't within the... Oh my gosh, try it. This is within the realm of my abilities, Overseer, but I must caution you that the Sarkic tribe has, in the past, displayed an active aversion to modern technology, which would include myself. Discussions are unlikely to be successful or productive. 052 says, I know. I want you to do it anyway. Xenophon stares ahead for a moment and says, I understand. Ooh. Next we have section 001.3, but I'm going to scroll for a bit to see how long this chapter is. Oh, the chapter's not long. We'll be getting to scissors after... Oh wait, there's a bunch of addendums. Never mind, I have no idea. But okay, section 001.3, Sarkic Tribal Territory. Attached document April 2041. Parahistory Division, Site 78. It's a anthropological briefing, Sarkic Tribal Territory. There's a little photo that says location of Sarkic Tribal Territory in Inner Mongolia, China. And then the actual image is indeed as it says, and there's an outlining, and it just says that that is the Sarkic Tribal Territory. That's it. NURIAKEA strikes again. Oh yes, this is all NURIAKEA. Alright. Oh no, you mean did we get another recommendation? Did we get another? No, this I gotcha. Okay, I was like, what? Yes. This one is recommended by NURIAKEA though. Alright. The summary of this little brief. The Sarkic tribe has been known to the Foundation since 1841, when British expeditions into China during the Century of Humiliation, in quotes, reference the group as one of many encountered native tribes. They did not note any paranormal or supernatural capabilities, and the Sarkic are a relatively minor footnote in the record. The records do note that the chieftain, in quotes, was a young woman who they met with only briefly. The Sarkic appear only a handful of times in the historical record following that, one of which is in Lord Blackwood's journals, recording a meeting with SCP-1867 as part of his survey of, and this is the quotes they use, mystical savages in the region. Fuck you, Blackwood. We don't talk about people that way. Lord Blackwood attested that the Sarkic had some natural affinity for quote-unquote black magic. While now an out-of-date and backwards understanding of magic, the term was fairly widespread at the time and encompassed a wide swath of religious beliefs and anomalies. He does not offer details in his writings, which focus more on fascination with culinary practices of the Sarkic, but he does write of a unique capacity for shared genetic memory, with members of the tribe remembering some events from the same point of view, including events they were not alive for. The exact mechanism through which this is accomplished is unclear. Aww, sorry about that. That's too bad. Have to share the showers. Oh, I definitely feel that pain. Not right now. I'm just with kitties, but I've been there for sure. Okay. He also recorded that the Sarkic population exhibited a frequency of deformities and birth defects much higher than normal. Or they're living and well taken care of despite them, you mean? Probably? maybe not. He ascribed this to the tribe's aggressive isolationism, which, taken with their depleting numbers, 300 to 400 at the time, resulted in significant inbreeding to sustain their population. Oh, okay. And a depleting gene pool. He did not perform population studies or ethnography to confirm this, and quickly earned the ire of the population for his insistence on it. His party was removed shortly thereafter, and the Sarkic have remained frosty towards re-establishing relations with outsiders. The Sarkic were packaged with several other ethnic groups studied by Whelp under the Macklin Agreement in 1921, in which the Foundation assumed custody over the listed ethnic groups with the understanding that containment would be upheld. In return, the Republic of China ceded the rural land the tribes occupied. The Macklin Agreement signing relied on the weakness of the Chinese state at the time, and has since repeatedly been a point of contention with the People's Republic of China as the legal inheritor of the agreement. The Sarkic tribes now occupy a sovereign, Foundation-administered parcel of land in Inner Mongolia and largely refuse all contact with outsiders. They are believed to have a complex religious faith. The current Foundation contact of the tribe is the Karcist Helena Leva, or Ieva, a religious leader. Oh my gosh. Oh! This is a fun little tidbit that they add at the bottom. It says NB Sarkic is the collective plural identifier for the tribe akin to Navajo or Inuit. An individual member of the tribe may be called a Sarkite. Fun extra info. Underneath that it says, in accordance with 052's orders, Xenophon.aic was securely transported to staging site 78 in Sichuan, China on November 20th, 2041, where a small convoy awaited with members of Mobile Task Force Pi 9 and liaison Tai Jiang from the Diplomatic Corps. The group, with a total of 16 personnel, set out from Site 78 on November 22nd for the day-long trip north to the Sarkic tribal territory, located in the Chinese Autonomous Region of Inner Mongolia. And we have another addendum. We will have a bunch of addendums, but here we go. Attached document, November 2041, begin log. Xenophon and Liaison Zhang stand in the trailer of the Foundation heavy transport vehicle loaded with foodstuffs and supplies. The trailer doors are sealed. There is movement and conversation outside. Zhang: I went and talked to the guards. They remembered me. Took quite a lot of convincing to get them to agree to letting you in there. I think they're more curious than anything, but there are a couple of ground rules for interacting with the Sarkic people. Xenophon: Understood. Zhang: I've spent the past 4.5 years cultivating what you could generously call a relationship with these people. I've made more progress than anyone has before me, and they still won't interact with us more than a few minutes at a time. So before you do something to alienate them and ruin all that, here's a quick list of things you shouldn't do. Don't cut them off when they're speaking. Don't question their traditions, don't question their traditions, clothing, or architecture. Don't ask them what a certain word means. Don't try to force gifts onto them or ask them anything they haven't offered already. And for the love of God, don't ignore anything they say. No gifts. Or ask for things they haven't offered. Or, well, don't force gifts. Don't ignore them. Don't interrupt them. Don't ask them what words mean is an interesting one. But obviously, don't question their traditions, clothing, or architecture. In an early stage, yeah, okay. Xenophon says, Li Zhan Zhang. Zhang says, yeah. Xenophon, I am wired into the SiteNet database. You wrote all of this on the appropriate report you filed with Central Asia Regional Command 1 year and 3 months ago, which I read and internalized already. Zhang, oh, when was that? Xenophon, when you began speaking. Zhang, oh right, I forgot you can do that. Most AICs I interact with are bots on the server. Xenophon, I am not most AICs. Zhang pauses and responds, sure, alright. Still, follow my lead and don't do anything dumb. If we get kicked out, hey, you can say you tried. Xenophon, I will do my best. Zhang moves and opens the trailer doors, allowing sunlight into the trailer. He hops out. Xenophon's synthetic shell following behind. 3 Foundation heavy land transporters, HELT, are parked outside of the Sarkic encampment. Several dozen large hide and skin tents are surrounded by a chain-link fence. Why are they surrounded by chain? The sun is high in the sky, casting long shadows as Zhang and Xenophon approach the entrance of the camp. A few researchers and security personnel follow them, holding crates of supplies. Zhang says, slow. Two figures quickly step forward. They are middle-aged men with weathered brown skin and tied back hair. Their clothing appears to be formed from animal hides. Both carry a saw-like blade. One has an old handgun jammed into his belt. Xenophon says, I was under the impression they hated modern technology. Zhang, they do. You don't have to like guns to understand their necessity. Hold on, let me... And then he's interrupted as Zhang and the guards exchange words. They speak in a pidgin of Jin Chinese and Mongolian with words from another unknown language peppered in. Guard, gesturing at Xenophon. What is it? Zhang. It's really not important. I discussed this with Yeva. Xenophon interrupts Zhang with, I am a 9th generation artificial intelligence construct. My name is Xenophon. There's silence. You're not supposed to interrupt them, but I guess it's not so bad if you interrupt the guy that said don't interrupt them. They don't like him that much. I don't know. Anyways, Zhang continues. I've discussed this with Yeva. Really, ask her if you don't believe me. The guards exchange a look. Slowly they step aside, unlocking the chain gate. Xenophon, thank you. Zhang, stay behind me. Don't talk to anyone who doesn't talk to you first. Don't point out any of the injuries. They move through the camp. Most of the buildings are large yurts made of hide sewn with other unclear materials. They appear weathered and damaged. There are people milling about, all openly staring at the party. They are all dressed in similar animal skins and carry varying levels of facial and bodily deformities ranging from missing eyes to misshapen limbs. Most are whispering to each other. Xenophon, where are we going? Zhang, all my dealings and conversations have been with Yeva. She's something of a religious leader for them. Xenophon points out a large central tent near the middle of the camp, sitting in front of a tall stele? Xenophon, there? Zhang, no, that's the Grand Karsus, the chief's tent. No one is allowed in, so don't ask. Xenophon, so Yeva isn't their leader? Zhang, no, but honestly you probably wouldn't even meet her, so I wouldn't. Yeva interrupts him. Welcome again, Jiang. In the other language they have. The group turns. A figure is standing by the entrance to one of the tents holding the flap open. She is dressed in heavy, floor-length robes of tanned hides and leaning heavily on a makeshift crutch. Jiang bows his head. Then he says, Karsus Yeva, a pleasure to meet you again. Yeva, inside. The pair duck into the tent away from the sun. The interior of the tent is supported by wooden beams, leading to a smoke hole at the top. The inside is neat but homely. A bedroll is in the corner. The floor is furnished with more tanned hides. A number of personal effects are present, as a number of vials and tinctures by the snuffed out fire. Yeva says, What have you brought to our home? Zhang, I know your people appreciate our antivirals, so the first box is largely those, and then Yeva interrupts. No, I mean this. She points at Xenophon kneeling by Zhang. And I will clarify, they've been talking in that other language that we mentioned this whole time between those two. Zhang says, he's an AIC, and then is interrupted again. Eva, is it a man? Is it alive? Xenophon responds instead of Zhang in the language they've been talking and says no. Yeva takes stock of Xenophon, eyes narrowed. And she says, I have no regard for what the rest of the world does. Such things are not for me, but the decision of who to allow on these sacred grounds is mine. One I gave for a promise of courtesy, and you dishonor that decision when you bring a machine like this to us. She shakes her head and continues, it was a mistake to have this kind of relationship with outsiders. Zhang says, hold on, please. It just has a few questions about your history, your people, and then we'll be gone. Yeva hesitates for a moment, then shakes her head, rising. Oh my god. Sorry, I read ahead. Yeva says, no, you should leave now. It would be better for all of us. The children are disturbed by its presence. Xenophon says, you are missing a leg, Karsus Yeva. Why? Considering Jane had said, don't mention injuries. But Xenophon is going for it, and he's not nuts, it seems. Zhang turns to it. Yeva cocks her head and raises a hand, saying, wait, let it speak. And Xenophon continues. Your gait is stilted. Your leg is not injured. You do not have one. Yeva pauses for a moment, then uses one hand to gently lift her dress. Underneath, her left leg ends roughly in a gnarled stump. Zhang says, oh, in English. Yeva says, you have been in my presence a dozen times over the past few years, Zhang. You did not notice this, and yet it does. She pauses for a moment and says, leave now. Who says he didn't notice it? Maybe, he said, oh, interesting. I don't know. She has long robes, though. Maybe he just didn't notice because she was under the... Oh, okay. Anyway. The other two rise to their feet before Yeva can lead them out. A young woman pokes her head into the tent. She has dark hair and smooth flesh where her left eye should be. I think would be is a better verb. She exchanges brisk words with Yeva in an unknown language. After a few moments, Yeva dismisses her with a sigh. Stop. Zhang, yes? Yeva, you have been invited to remain. Zhang, invited by whom? Xenophon, the Grand Karsus. How do you know, dude? Yeva says, yes. There is to be an event tonight, a funeral. You have been invited to stay, to observe. And then you will leave. Zhang, oh, I'm sorry. Yeva, for what? Zhang, nothing. I thought the Grand Karsus doesn't, and then interrupted. Yeva says she doesn't. Your gift must have caught her attention. The funeral will begin at sundown tomorrow. You will not bring anything with you. You will be there, Yeva nodding at Xenophon, as will it. Zhang, and for now, then Yeva, tersely, you are a guest of the Grand Karsus. You are permitted on the grounds in the daytime. After nightfall, And she shrugs. She says, sleep in your machines. As long as you remain outside the fence, it is no concern of mine. End of vlog. Ooh, there's some drama in the camp. Okay. Now we have a photo here. Ooh, it enlarged when I hovered. And we have, it looks like goats, a horse, and a person on a horse in the mountains. But it is all, like it's a negative photo or something. Like it's, everything's very, very white and it's black and white, but then there's like the green boxes. So I guess this is the view of Xenophon, and then it says, still image of Xenophon's AIC lower power night camera feed. I thought it might be. So it is the negative because it is the night vision for Xenophon. And thank you for humming. We will get to humming Actor Scissor Snips after we finish this chapter. It's gonna be a little bit still. There's 3 more addendums, but I'll get there. It says, the research party received authorization to stay for the event, the nature of which Karsus Yeva refused to expand upon. Well, just funeral and that's it. Attempts to communicate with the other members of the tribe for the rest of the day were similarly rebuffed. Most expressed hesitation or outright distrust at the continued presence of Xenophon. The medical supplies were accepted without negotiation or exchange, to Liaison Zhang's dismay. On the evening of December 1st, 2041, Karsus Yeva greeted Liaison Zhang and Xenophon at the entrance of the camp. Addendum opening. Attached document, December 2041, begin log. Xenophon and Liaison Zhang approached the entrance to the Sarkic encampment, followed by several researchers. Karsus Yeva is leaning on her crutch, waiting for them. The sun has set. Pillars of smoke are rising into the purple sky. Yeva, greetings. Zhang, greetings. Thank you for allowing us the privilege of participating in honoring your dead. Yeva, you are not participating. You are observing. Yeva turns and limps across the dirt, leading them past the fence into the campground. Xenophon and the researchers follow, weaving their way between tents. Most appear empty, and there are only a few tribespeople milling about. From somewhere deeper in the camp, a steady drumbeat echoes out, rising into the sky with the plumes of smoke. Xenophon says, where is everyone? Yeva, assembled. We do not wait for outsiders. As they approach the central area of the tent, a few more Sarkites pass by. They toss wary looks at the party, but nod politely at Yeva leading them. Zhang says, my condolences for your loss, Karsus. Yeva, we have gained as much as we have lost. He looks confused but falls silent. The steady drumbeat continues, growing louder as they approach the center of the encampment. It is joined now by several voices singing, deep and guttural in an unknown language. The music is haunting, rising into the air. The center of the camp is obscured from view by a large crowd of Sarkites forming a ring around the central stele. The crowd parts around them, offering them passage and a view into the central circle. Ooh, thank you for hydrate. And Yeva says, sit. Okay, thank you for hydrate. And now, we are at the funeral, something going on. Xenophon and the researchers kneel in the dirt. The clearing is 12 meters across, with the stele in the rough center. I need to Google what this is. I don't know what it is. Maybe I check. Maybe I check real quick. Yeah, okay. So it's a stone or wooden slab, generally taller than it is wide, like a monument. So it is very much like a gravestone here for this funeral. Okay, and that's in the rough center of this clearing. The singing continues. It is at once mournful and joyful. Looking around, it is clear all the Sarkites are contributing to the song, and the intensity of it is deafening. Yeva leaves the researchers, limping to the stele on her cane. The song quiets slightly for her to speak, but does not stop. Yeva says, "You think we gather now because one of our number has closed his eyes for the final time? No." Murmurs run through the crowd. A few hang their heads. Yeva, "You think we gather now because his flesh has failed him? No." Hatak has gone. His body no longer draws breath. The container for his soul is lifeless, but has his flesh failed him? No. She shakes her head, lowering her hood, and continues, "Hatak was the best of us. He was born with us, and he has died with us. He has sired 2 children with us, and he has loved a woman with us." She raises a hand towards a woman in the crowd. She holds the hands of a young child tightly. Despite her tear-streaked face, she smiles back at the Karcist. "He was human like us. To live is to die. To be flesh is to decay. It cannot be stopped because it must not be stopped. Life feeds death. Death feeds life. The cow keels over in the field. Has the flesh failed? The worms feast on it and give birth to their own spawn. Are they not flesh too?" The song is in a lull now, Sarkites nodding to Yeva's words. She signals to someone after a few moments. 2 Sarkites come out, carrying something wrapped in oiled canvas. They gently bring it down to her feet. She kneels. Yeva says, "Hatak was the greatest of us. He died with us after a life well lived. The cow feeds the worms feed the soil feeds the grass feeds the cow." The song pitches up again, with faint voices joined by booming guttural notes. Yeva unwraps the canvas, exposing the corpse of an older man, in his late 60s. He has the same weathered brown skin and dark hair of the rest of the Sarkic, with a hawked nose. He is naked, marked with the pallor of death. Yeva, "We fed Attack, and now he will feed us." I think we know where this is going. Yep. Okay. I want to hear no suggestions to do the same. But also, we're not gonna judge these people and their ways. That is their traditional ways right now. This is also a fictional story. But still. Okay. She reaches into her robes, drawing a dagger made of bleached and carved bone. Zhang stiffens, and Yeva says, "He will live on with us. Sing." The singing reaches another zenith as Yeva brings the blade down, slicing down through the corpse's chest. The flesh gives way easily, blood oozing out of the wound as she reaches in and pulls his rib cage apart. The cracking bones is audible even over the singing and drums. Her hand roots around inside for some time until she draws it back, gripping the heart tightly. Blood vessels still hanging from it. The blood drips down her fingers, down her forearm, onto the grass. Researcher Sale, who I guess is with them, there's a few researchers. "You don't think she's going to," in English, and then Zhang, No. Yeva lifts up the heart and bites into it, teeth tearing into the muscle. It sprays messily. She devours the heart in only a handful of bites, chin dripping blood. When there is nothing left, her whole body shudders, her eyelids fluttering. Researcher Hansen, Jesus Christ. Yeva offers the knife to one of the other Sarkites, rising from her kneel. When she rises, her face has a different air to it. Nothing has overtly changed, but the features of her face seem sharper, older, more weathered. She limps across the clearing, now walking as though the cane were an unfamiliar obstruction. She reaches the woman she raised a hand at earlier and touches the bloodied palm to her cheek, leaning forward and kissing her on the forehead. So this is the wife of the deceased, it seems. Or the equivalent of wife. Partner. Yeva says, "He misses you more than life itself," in their language. In the language that we can also understand as from the Xenophon point of view. Oh, it's something. The woman is still sobbing, but a half-smile forms underneath the tears. Yeva whispers something inaudible. Then she rises and moves on to another Sarkite in the crowd, and another after that. Xenophon and the researchers stare at the scene, and they are saying in English, Zhang, what are they doing? Xenophon, they are butchering him. Each Sarkite she touches smiles, whispers something to her ear, and joins the others at the corpse where the body is being unceremoniously butchered. I think it's literally ceremoniously butchered. This is literally the ceremony. Writer, I'm on board for a lot of the things, but you can still... Anyway, joints are broken apart, and the knife is used to cleave meat from the bone. The body's thighs, chest, and organs are separated into piles, blood pooling on the oiled canvas. Researcher Kristoff, fuck, I think I'm gonna be sick. Xenophon, control yourself. Thank you, AIC. As the body is broken apart, the Sarkites waste no time in indulging. The men gravitate towards the muscle meat, while the women and children take pieces of the organs. The meat is devoured raw and without preparation. A child wanders by. He casts a wary look at Xenophon, but offers a bleeding, fist-sized chunk of brain matter to Zhang, who recoils and waves the boy off. The researchers are all thoroughly disturbed and disgusted. Zhang, this is a fucked up way to mourn. Xenophon says, look at them. Zhang says, I'd really rather not. Xenophon insists, they are not mourning, they are celebrating. As they eat the flesh, the Sarkites' demeanors change. Rather than subdued mourning, they are now embracing each other, laughing and chatting as blood drips from bone to hand to dirt. Yeva is speaking to a small group of men, along with the woman, with the singular woman, I guess, the partner. Yeva says he remembered the day after his wedding his whole life. The men laugh, clapping each other on the back. Sarkite woman, he remembers you taking him to the hill on the edge of the... You never told me this. So they are sharing memories. This is clearly, we are getting memories, the genetic memory we were talking about earlier on from this. This is their ceremony to get that genetic memory. And so as much as it is a death, they are literally getting something from this flesh. Is this whole plot. Wild. Very gross to us from this point of view, of course. But I don't want to say anymore because I'm very torn, because I'm worried that Twitch is already mad, but also, I mean, so they say, yeah, they're celebrating. They're talking. You never told me this. Sarkite man says, we swore him to silence, told him if he hurt you, we'd ruin him so badly. Sarkite woman, that even Yeva wouldn't be able to fix him. I am born of animals. She shakes her head amused. Yeva drifts away to let them reminisce. Xenophon, genetic memory. They are able to access the memories of their dead by consuming their flesh. Zhang says, that. Chris says, what? He goes silent, staring intently at Yeva as she walks over to the child of the deceased. He is a young boy, clinging tightly to his mother's leg, watching the proceedings with wide eyes. Yeva kneels awkwardly, offering the boy something in a cup palm, an eyeball, severed optic nerve still dangling from it. He reaches for it tentatively, encouraged by Yeva and his mother. Finally, he pops it into his mouth, crushing it into white jelly between his teeth and swallowing. A soft celebratory cheer rises up through those assembled, and Yeva reaches out with the same bloodied hand to paint the boy's cheeks red. Yeva, you have lived 1,000 lives with us, but in this one you have become one of us, our child, our little thing, our Nalka. Zhang sucks in air. Several researchers stiffen. And Zhang says in English, Carnomancy. That's Carnomancy. We need to leave. Where are the... Xenophon, your radios were left in the transports. Gongsun, oh Jesus. Xenophon says, quiet, Yeva is coming. Yeva approaches them, robes dragging across the ground. She ignores the others, leaning down to face Xenophon. She speaks with gritted teeth. The Grand Karcist invites your presence. And then there's silence, and Zhang responds, well, we're more... And Yeva interrupts, saying, not you. Only it. Come. She straightens, limping off in the direction of the central tent. Xenophon rises and follows her into the tent alone. The inside of the tent is filled with candles. It is substantially larger than Yeva's, decorated with worn tapestries and trinkets of whitened bone. Smoke from incense fills the air, obscuring Xenophon's camera. Yeva bows. Yeva says, the Grand Karcist, Yun. A young woman is lounging in front of a small fire. She pats the ground next to her. She speaks in crisp Jin Chinese. Yun. Hello, sit. Xenophon sits. The girl is young, no older than her early 20s. She has paler skin than Yeva and dark hair tied back by an ornate white pin. Her eyes are appraising Xenophon. Xenophon says, hello. She does not respond. They sit in silence for some time, watching the fire. Ian says, are you alive? Xenophon says, no, I am a computer program in a synthetic mobile shell. Ian, a machine. Xenophon, essentially. Ian, but you think? Xenophon, I understand and internalize new information. I can form complex thoughts. Ian nods. Do you have a name? Xenophon, my designation is Xenophon. Ian, Xenophon. Xenophon. She enunciates the words several times, filling it out. And then says, what does it mean? Xenophon, it is the name of a Greek general and historian. Ian says, my name is Ian. Xenophon, the Grand Karcist, Ian. Ian says, my title, you've heard of me. Xenophon, I have heard stories about you. An amused smile dances across her face. And what do these stories say? Xenophon, stories of you at the head of a vast slave empire spanning a continent. Stories of a witch king rising from the chains of slavery and eating the very gods. Stories of bloody conquest and sacrifice. Ian, then you know more about me than I do. Xenophon says, what do you mean? Ian shakes his head, staring into the fire. Didn't we use... Yeah, okay, so we have multiple pronoun use for Ian. Ian shakes his head, staring into the fire. There are a number of bones in the flames, baking in the low heat. Ian, my memories are broken, fractured, flashes of cities burning. Torrents of blood in the waterways, a lumbering giant, an army that blotted out the sun, images with no thread binding them. Xenophon, when do your memories come together? Ian, years ago, waking up in this very tent. Hello! People surrounding me, a people expecting a leader. Xenophon, how long ago was that? Yeva, 116 years ago. Xenophon, your people, the Nalka. Ian looks at Xenophon with a confused expression. Ian, no, Nalka means community, people, largeness. My people are the Sarkic. That is the only name I have ever known us by. Xenophon, Sarkic? Ian, those who walk. Xenophon, walk where? Ian shifts the coals of the fire around. The smoke dances. I don't know. There is too much I don't know, that my people don't know, and so we cling to what faded rituals I can remember. Xenophon, you remember the art of flesh crafting. Ian, scraps, little tricks, and even these exhaust me. Xenophon, you are very young. Ian smiles sadly. I do not age. I am frozen in place. I have watched my people go from wandering to the steppe to this. Corralled in the pen this country gives us, wasting away. We numbered in the thousands once, and now we hide in our camps praying in the cover of darkness. We receded during the years. You are the first outsider to witness our practices in decades. Xenophon, that is unfortunate. Ian, but not unpredictable. I am blind to my past, but I see the future written in the bones, my people wasting away to nothing. She shifts the bones in the fire again. Xenophon, I expected you to be offended by my existence. Ian, why? Xenophon, my knowledge of your people's spiritual beliefs suggests you reject technology. She shakes her head. Simplistic, reductive. We reject that which robs us of our humanity. We are not blind. We choose to live this way. It brings us closer to our humanity, to each other. Xenophon, but I am not human. Ian turns to Xenophon for the first time, inspecting its shell. She runs a finger across the carbon fiber experimentally, as if to see if it will bend or break. No, you are something else. It fascinates me. Ooh. Following this, Xenophon and Liaison Zhang were asked to report to O52 and Director Hussein via satellite uplink. And there is another addendum. At this point, we have waited a long time, and I know that there's still 1, 2, 3 addendums and a little bit of text before Chapter 2. Let's see how long Chapter 2 looks like. Okay. It's just as long. I'm gonna say that we are going to do our break, and then I will jump back into things. Oh, thank you for the stretch. We will do our break, and then we will jump back into readings. And I don't think I'll be sticking around to read the next chapter just because it is so chunky. And we might as well do some redeems. Let's do a stretch. Oh. Good. Okay, that was a good stretch. Alright. We will go ahead and yoink that, but now put. Well, not that. Oh my gosh, how many times am I gonna get this wrong? Oh, that's why. We are going to do some scissors snips real quick. Oh, Dad, is Grandma coming to the dinner party? Silly boy, Grandma is the dinner party. Basically what this was. But hey, as they explain, there's reason for their rituals. It's intense. It's definitely not something we can promote here. I actively deter you from doing such things. But in the story it makes sense, and they have their reasons to do, so I will not say much more. Scissor snips time, then humming, and then we'll get back into it and see how Zhang explains this to the O5 Council. Oh boy. Oh yawns. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry. I noticed I'm just a little bit. Anyway, okay. I think that will be all of our scissor snips for now. And then we'll do some humming. How about it? Alright, let's see what we will be. Yay! Yes, you did come in for humming. Hi, Kate. Welcome in. I'm thinking of another one. There was our humming. Well, do we have any other redeems? There's one that we have not done yet. And I've got my 3.0 back up to working. And I'm tempted to do, but I won't be able to monitor right away. I have to swap around headphones and things. But I could do heartbeats, which we have not done in a very long time. Because we have not had Vi setup. I think I want to do that real quick. And then we'll go back to story. If we have no other redeems, I want to just do this one. I have to mute this mic before I put on the other one. Actually, I could do this first. But yes, okay, I will have to mute for just a second while I swap things around. And now we are back with the other mic. That was our heartbeat. I'm glad you two like it. I have not done it in so long. I was sat there listening to my own heartbeat, and then I was like analyzing myself, and then it would speed up, and I'm like, is that bad? I'd have to be like, chill out, Raven. So I have every instinct to be like, if there's any doctors, but also every fear of like, if there is, don't tell me. Okay, but there was a heartbeat. And we'll get back to our story. We are not quite done. In the scrolling size of it, we're like a third of the way through. The first couple chapters are definitely the meatier chapters. So I think I could probably finish this another stream, a longer stream. But because there's so many addendums, it's really hard to tell how long this one's gonna be. But we're getting back to Roundhouse's Bone Proposal, Chapter 1. We just found out the real magic they were doing, the genetic memory stuff. And now Xenophon and Zhang are going to talk to 052 and Director Hussein via satellite uplink to report all of this stuff. Thank you, Toast. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And if you have to go, that's good too. But, like, just because I felt like that was... it kind of feels almost like a goodbye message. I don't know. But, thank you. And I will open the next addendum where they are theoretically, probably, going to be telling them all about this stuff. Good for our AIC for keeping the other people's grounded. He's like, get yourself together, man. Stop saying this in the middle of their cultural practice. Like, oh my god. There's a small type of industry. Stories from views. Thank you for that. Viewers! There you go. This is a huge one. Started reading Boat Proposal when you came back from the crash. I'm a damn fast reader and I'm still not done after 90 minutes. This is a huge one. Yeah. I'd like to think that I'm a speedy reader inside my head, but because I try to hear things sometimes, I get just as stuck as I am now trying to pronounce things. But warn me if it's real bad, okay? Insane Writer, hi! It's going well. We're about to get back into our SCP story after a little break for ASMR redeems. And I warn you, we still have that message pinned correctly, right? Correct, right? It should stay pinned. It is a lot. Oh, I will repin it. There you go. There you go. I will manually unpin. There you go. It's gonna be upsetting. We now know what the topics are in this one, but we didn't when we opened this. So I'm repinning my mods and message. Thank you very much, dude. Xenophon and Jiang saw the genetic memory from cannibalism and are reporting it to the 052 and Director Hussein, who had the theory that the big city they're looking for never existed. I think he's going to land on, well, we'll never know because even the tribe do not properly know. So, alright. Which we learned from Xenophon talking to the, what is the official title for them? I'm scrolling to find the name. Grand Karcist Ian, who is unaging, very old. Okay, here it is. The connection is established. Attached document December 2041. The virtual reality environment coalesces. Xenophon and Jiang are standing before a desk in a stark utilitarian office. Hussein's avatar is seated in a chair in front of the desk, and 052's wheelchair is behind it. The large windows outside show a roiling blue-gray sky in the midst of a storm. They are calling in to Protected Site 7. 052 begins. Xenophon, Zhang, I hope you'll forgive the suddenness. Director Hussein is calling in from, well, it doesn't really matter. You have updates for me? Xenophon, yes, I have forwarded recording packets from my discussions with the Grand Karcist Yun. 2. We've already reviewed them. This is an interesting development. Hussein raises a hand dismissively. A fascinating one, but not a surprising one. Zhang, with all due respect, Director, you don't think finding the Grand Karcist Yun is surprising? Hussein, I think we found someone claiming to be the Grand Karcist Yun, without any evidence. We really have no reason to believe she's telling the truth. Her conveniently absent memory means we can't question her either. Zhang, and her longevity? The carnomancy, the ritual? This is exactly what the Deva claimed the Nalka were capable of. Hussein, and we already knew the Sarkic tribe had some level of anomalous capabilities. And then turning to 052, honestly, I believe this is just more support for my theory, Overseer. 052 says, how do you figure that? Hussein, clearly this is a small tribe with an independent cultural identity. They don't consider themselves Nalka. They don't even have a conception of the idea of Nalka because the Confederation of Tribes dissolved after the war. This is just one tribe that managed to persist into the modern day. Impressive, but unless they can tell us anything further, historiographically useless. Your insistence that we just move on, we don't do this, let's give up, let's not do this, while being the head of it, it feels suspicious. And maybe it's not, but it's just the way you're pushing this. Buddy? Anyway, 052 nods and is silent for a moment before looking up and saying, Xenophon? Xenophon, Overseer? Your analysis of the Sarkic? 2 says. Xenophon, the genetic memory is an interesting phenomenon. Regular consumption of human flesh would explain their higher than average rate of physical deformities, but would also cause prion diseases that would devastate their population. There is no evidence of that at the moment. They appear to be unaware of their history. Yun's recollection does not extend past the modern era, and members are more concerned with their immediate daily lives than their historical legacy. Their religious practices bear superficial resemblance to the Nalka as recorded by the Mechanites and the Deva, but there doesn't appear to be a direct link between them. 2. So you agree with Director Hussein that this is a dead end? Xenophon, no. There are still several outstanding questions I would like to engage the Grand Karcist on with your permission. 2 says, such as? Xenophon, the specific nature and scope of her memories, the extent of her remaining carnomantic ability, and the religious significance of the Sarkic tribal territory. He says, I find it more surprising that 05 would even give one singular shit about something like this. You know, something that wouldn't be a world-ending thing, but it might be a live forever thing. But I think it's mostly because we reference that there's like a big city that there like been references to, but is hiding. So I think it's more like they want to find and control a power, and that is the root, the beginning of the Foundation as well. Like I said before, that it is still a very much leading, I forget word, reason to do things. So I mean, I can see it, but we don't know what the specifics about. Like, I think it's supposed to be kind of like an Atlantis, you know, it's a buried city. It's not here anymore, but the way people talked about it, it was full of super intense magical things, but I don't know. I already have things that make them immortal, that's true. But something is hiding, and they like to find it until they can hold on to it. So I think it's like there are 05s that are like, it's hidden and it's like Atlantis, we gotta find it, and we don't know what it is. And then there are other people that are like, we found out enough, dude, chill. So I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hussein's doing good or doing bad by saying just leave it be, just because so intense it seems of like, just no, it's not actually surprising, it's fine. It's like, dude, actually that was kind of big, but okay, fine. Because, you know, you'd think he'd be like, hey, that's so cool, you finally got in, you earned their trust, you got to see the thing. Because, like, even though you know it, it's different to see it. And then, like, knowing that how it feels like a proper historian and archaeological specialist would probably be like, wow, they really view it like this, and it's really that positive of a, okay, that's cool, like, you know. But no, he doesn't care. So that's interesting. I want to do this. The tribal territory. 052 says, what do you mean? Xenophon says, everything about the Sarkic suggests a nomadic people, small, simple shelters that are easy to take apart and reassemble. No large-scale agricultural practices or permanent structures. A particular focus on hunting and using all elements of hunted prey. It does not make sense for them to remain static to this location. Hussein, the Chinese government has had them more or less restricted to the territory for the past few decades. Xenophon, before that, all of our historical data indicate they have been rooted to this plane for at least 2 centuries, if not more. This ground holds some religious significance for them that they have not disclosed. Lightning strikes outside, the sea churning and waves battering the oil rigs that make up Site 7. But the inside of the office is silent for a minute as 052 thinks. 052. So they're hiding something from us. Okay. Find out what, but don't ruffle any feathers. The Chinese are already unhappy with us. I don't want an international incident. Zhang, there's always the other possibility. Xenophon, 052, and Hussein look at him. He returns the gaze, somewhat surprised. They just don't remember why they're there. And that is a very real thing, especially since we've established we don't really remember. We just know that this was one of the things. I think Zhang might be right. That's very possible. But okay, that's the end of that. And then, there's another one right after this. Over the following week, Grand Karcist Yun gradually relaxed some of Karcist Yeva's restrictions regarding interaction with the Sarkic people. She allowed Liaison Zhang's researchers to perform limited, direct interviews with members of the tribe regarding daily life, religious beliefs, and historical awareness. However, she herself insisted on meeting with Xenophon over the course of the week. And here's that addendum. Attached document, December 2041, begin log. This is Xenophon and Yun. Okay. Xenophon approaches the entrance of the encampment's central tent and steps inside. The Grand Karcist is kneeling by the fire. Yeva sits on a cot near the entrance. Xenophon. Hello, Grand Karcist. Karcist Yeva. Yeva does not acknowledge the greeting. Yun responds. Xenophon? Xenophon says, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yun says, sit. Xenophon sits by the fire. There are several bones nestled inside the flames, and then it continues, you are reading the bones. Yun, yes, all I can do, all I know how to do. Xenophon, you believe you can divine the future from them. Ian, the future is not a static thing. It shifts with our actions, with the winds. But the bones tell me which way the wind is blowing. Xenophon, and the flesh? Ian, the flesh is malleable. It shifts. It is shifted by circumstance and experience. Eventually, it rots and dies. Xenophon, and then you consume it. Ian, your researchers are disgusted by this practice. Xenophon, most cultures have a strong taboo against cannibalism. Ian, but you are not disgusted. Xenophon, I am not disgusted by anything, though I would like to know why. I know that they clarify in a second, but in my head I'm thinking, Xenophon's like, I don't know why I'm not disgusted by things. I'd like to know why. But that's not the kind of curiosity Buddy has. Ian says, why we eat our dead? Xenophon, yes. Ian, among the few rituals I can remember clearly, it is a cornerstone of our beliefs. The body is where the humanity resides, where the soul is contained. Xenophon, many cultures have a similar belief, but they don't eat their dead. Ian, what do they do? Xenophon, bury them, burn them, cast them into the sea. Ian, bury them to trap the soul in the ground forever. Burn them to turn their life of experiences and memories to ash. Cast them into the sea so they can lay at the bottom of the ocean for eternity? She shakes her head. We eat them, and this way their experiences stay with us. We remember them. We carry them with us always. Xenophon, do you, all of you, absorb the memories of the dead you consume? Ian, some more than others. Most only get vague impressions, bare feelings. Xenophon, but not all. Ian, every now and again, a child is born with a particular skill for the art. I take them, I train them. Xenophon, you're Karcists. Ian, it is a title to aspire to. Eva was a prodigy, even as a girl. She is also the only child born with the skill in decades. She is not perfect, but she is my legacy. Xenophon, so the flesh offers you the past. What do the bones offer you? It gestures at the bones baking in the fire pit. Ian, the future. Flesh rots, bones remain. Something transitory, partly alive, partly dead. There is truth in bone. Xenophon, what do you see now? Ian, the same thing I have seen for years now. My people dwindling to nothing. Eventually we will die, we will rot away. Flesh sloughing off bone, bone disintegrating into dust, dust fertilizing the ground. One day this will all be farmland. Xenophon, this is unavoidable? She shrugs. If nothing changes. Xenophon, the foundation I represent has substantial resources. We could relocate you. Ian, we do not want help. We do not want to be relocated. If this is what is meant to be, then so be it. Xenophon, you are very attached to this place. Ian, all people are protective of their places. Xenophon, why? Ian, it is one's home, if you can understand the idea. Xenophon, I understand what a home is. I do not understand why people feel strongly enough to kill and die for it. Ian, where is your home? Xenophon, I suppose I don't have one. Ian, then you don't understand it. Ian shifts the bones, they crackle. It is not your fault. We are how we are made. Xenophon says, why here? Ian, why not? Xenophon, you said the Sarkic were wanderers once. Why do you bind yourself so strongly to this land, then? Ian is silent. Once, just after I awoke, the bones spoke, and either she trails off or she is interrupted, but Eva says, Grand Karcist, and then she continues, and they told me to seek out this place. They told me more, but I was too young to understand them, and so I sought out this place. And I have waited for them to speak to me again, to tell me what to do, how to lead. Xenophon, what's special about here? Suddenly, Ian rises to her feet. Come with me. Ian strides out of the tent as Xenophon and Yeva hurriedly follow. Several of the Sarkic and researchers stare as they exit the tent, stopping in front of the large stele in the center of the encampment. It is a rough obelisk 3 meters high with intricate engravings on the face. Ian says, it means something. I don't know what, but something. Xenophon, you haven't read it? Ian, we speak the old tongue. We cannot write it anymore. Xenophon says, we can. Ian and Eva turn to Xenophon. Ian says, what did you say? Xenophon, the Foundation has had a limited vocabulary working model of the Nalkin language for several years, using knowledge accumulated from previous projects. Ian says, what does it say? Xenophon, a moment. Xenophon inspects the writing on the stele for several minutes. It grazes a hand against the rock, gently. Xenophon, I can only translate portions of this, but it is a gravestone for an individual by the name of Nadoq. Eva looks at Ian. Her brow is furrowed. Ian, Nadoq, Nadoq, Nadoq. She shakes her head. Ian says, familiar. The word is familiar to my tongue, but I don't know what it means. Xenophon, it appears to be a grave. Presumably the body is buried underneath. We could attempt to unearth it. Eva steps forward. Oh, it's much bigger than I thought. There's a photo below, and I can see horses for scale. It is vastly bigger than horses. It said, hold on. Didn't it say it was only... I feel like at one side, it's a rough obelisk 3 meters high. Okay. That looks bigger than 3 meters. And that doesn't look rough. Maybe it's just been worn down. Anyway, we have a photo from previous. I'll get to it. Okay. Pretends is underneath it. Eva steps forward and says, "A desecration. We cannot allow this," in her other language. And Yun stares at the stele quietly. Xenophon and Eva stare at her, and Yun says in her, that specific Chinese they said that they were speaking, "Would it be destructive?" Xenophon says, "It would be loud, but we can minimize damage to the camp." Eva, "You cannot invite outsiders in to tear up our home, Ian, to take what little we have left." Xenophon says, "We will not do anything without your permission, Grand Karcist." Ian stares at the stele for some time. Ian says, "I will permit you 2 days. If you find nothing, you leave the land as you found it." Yeva hisses, "What are you?" And Ian interrupts Yeva. She falls silent, then turns and sets off into a different part of the camp. Ian says, "I have seen this stele every day of my life. People are born, they live, they die, but this remains." She presses a hand against the rough carved stone. Xenophon, "Grand Karcist?" Ian says, "Yes." Xenophon, "Logically, there is no reason for you to trust us. It would be in your favor to deny my request. Why are you doing this?" Ian says, "Would you wish me to deny you?" Xenophon, "No. I just want to understand why you trust us." Ian thinks for a moment before looking up. She is smiling softly and says, "I do not know." And that's the end of the log, but I have a historical photo of the stele in the center of the Sarkic camp, circa 1860, sourced from the journals of Lord Blackwood. We had said that he was around. We have sort of a sepia tone picture with some trees, some little grasslands, and yes, a big ol', thingy. A grave. It looks like more of a bigger ceremonial thing. It's not like a singular grave. Honestly, it could be the entrance to a tomb underneath. It's one of the bigger spaces, but it's a monolith of some sort, right? That's the word? No? I forget my brain. It's not quite bread, but it's close enough to bread. But it looks bigger than 3 meters. Unless I'm misunderstanding. Yeah, no, this is vastly bigger, so I don't know how it's so small. Or maybe they misunderstood what they wrote, I don't know. But it looks like a big monument instead. It's still a big pointy piece of stone, but it's a big monument instead. Like I would say, oh jeez, that horse is small. Let's measure the horses. It looked like it's approximately 2 across at the square at the bottom, and then like many horses tall. Less than 10. Okay. Oh, my ridiculous measuring. Alright. At the end of that log, we have a little thing, and there's a photo of bulls. Bonkin heads. It's a still from Xenophon AIC's low-power night camera feed. It's just some cows in the fields doing cow things. And it says, 2 of the Foundation helts were immediately refactored with digging equipment and driven into the camp, focusing on excavating several square meters of dirt around the stele. Sonar equipment did not indicate the presence of a casket or coffin, but did indicate the stele extended several meters into the ground. Further excavation confirmed this. The first 24 hours yielded little of value. Oh! So in the 200 years or so, it just got very buried. Is that what we're saying? Oh. Oh. Because it's 1860 to 2041. Nearly 200 years. It just got covered in soil. It's not that it's too small, it's that, okay. It's only 3 meters high above the ground now. Alright. Okay, we've got one more addendum and then a little bit of chat before we end this chapter. Attached document December 2041. Begin log. Xenophon and Liaison Zhang are speaking to each other outside the boundaries of the camp. Inside, the loud sounds of heavy machinery can be heard. Zhang says, I have to say, this is fairly incredible stuff. Xenophon, how so? Zhang, I've been working this gig for years, never made any real headway. You come here, and in days you have them agreeing to let us excavate the camp. Xenophon, I was not attempting to persuade them, I simply wanted to present the options. Zhang, sure, still, it's bizarre. I was fully expecting us to get thrown out with your, well, you know. You're lucky Eva got overruled. Researcher Gongsun enters, sweating, and then says, Sir, the excavators have found something. The Karsits are waiting for you. Xenophon and Zhang follow her to the center of the camp. Perturbed stares from the various Sarkic peoples follow them. They reach the center of the camp. Most of the central clearing is roped off with ladders descending into the wide pit. The Helts have stopped drilling. Gongsun says, Down there, sir. Zhang, you can't crane it out? Gongsun, not exactly. Xenophon and Zhang descend the ladders into the pit. Small sections inside have been roped off, surrounding artifacts and bones half embedded in the dirt, marked with flags. Much more of the stele has been revealed. Any writing on the surface has been rubbed away. Yun and Yeva are standing by what appears to be the base, staring at something on the ground. Zhang, in their language, says, Karsis, what do we... Oh. As they round the corner, the object of their attention becomes clear. A roughly carved staircase at the base of the stele, descending underground into total darkness. I knew it looked like something that... Oh, it looked like a crypt. Oh, ravens onto it. Okay. It is narrow enough to only allow a single person to descend at a time. Nothing is visible beyond the first few steps. A small crowd has formed around it of researchers and Sarkic peoples. Ian says, Oh, finally, in the pigeon language, your people have found something, Xenophon. Xenophon says, I see. Do you recognize it? Ian, no, but I feel I should. Ian reaches a hand out, but falters. Yeva moves forward. And Zhang says, We have no way of knowing how deep that goes, Karsis. I have to insist you let us survey it before... Yeva interrupts him. So you can take everything of value to us before we can protest? Zhang says, We're not going to do that. We just want to make sure it doesn't collapse. Xenophon looks at Ian. She shakes her head. Xenophon says, Let them go, Liaison Zhang. In English, Zhang. But, Xenophon, it is their risk to take. Ian nods at them before stepping forward, descending into the staircase with Ieva. She motions for them to follow, and Xenophon and Zhang enter the staircase after them. It quickly turns into total blackness, spiraling downward. The walls and stairs are made of roughly hewn stone. I knew this was about to happen. Zhang says in the pigeon language, We need to go back up and get a flashlight or something. Xenophon activates its floodlights, bathing the staircase in yellowish light. Could you not have done that before someone asked for lights? Could you not have thought ahead? Anyway. That's a little bit of Xenophon trying to one-up Zhang, I think, because that's happened a couple times. I think that's where the personality is coming out. Zhang says, Oh, neat. Any chance you can tell how deep we are? Xenophon says, We have descended 23 meters from the surface. Woo. They continue descending, the staircase growing cleaner and less eroded. It terminates in a featureless stone door. Ian gently pushes it open, and they step through. Ian says, They find themselves in a vast, wide, subterranean cavern. The ceiling high overhead is dotted with stalactites. The majority of the cavern is filled with bookshelves carved directly out of the stone, rising up in neat rows. There are over 100 shelves spreading out from a central point. The walls are covered with some sort of bioluminescent lichen, casting a faint red light across the space. Ooh! glowy red moss. Fun, fun, fun. Zhang, breath hitching. Holy shit, I don't believe it. Do you think is it? And that was in English. Xenophon steps through, inspecting the shelves, approaching the central point, saying, "No, this is not Black Aditum. This is not a population center at all. This is a library." Zhang, whose library? Yun, clearly understanding them. Or maybe they were speaking Chinese, actually. But the point is that there's the in the brackets versus out of the brackets. Yun says, in the pigeon language, "Nadoq. He loved his books." She's remembering. They turn. Yun is also inspecting the shelves. They contain roughly bound books formed of tanned hide, many of them molding, but most in stellar condition. The cubby holes also contain piles of bones, carefully carved with intricate symbols and scripts. Yun lifts one of these bones, inspecting the script. Jiang says, in the pigeon language, "I thought you said you didn't recognize the name." Yun, "I didn't, and now I do." Xenophon says, "What do you remember?" Yun, "It is hard. An embrace from a figure with 10 arms, a whisper. I made a promise here many, many years ago." Xenophon, "What kind of promise?" Yun, "I don't remember." They continue towards the center of the tavern, and then Yun, "I have been here before. I can smell it. Nadoq. Nadoq." Zhang, "There must be thousands of books here. God knows how many oracle bones. Jesus." Eva, "This is a sacred place. They must not be disturbed." Zhang nods, pulling his hand away. The group reaches the center. There are no bookshelves here, only a large stone sarcophagus. A small fire is burning at its foot. Words are carved around the perimeter of the lid. Ian says, "Read." Xenophon, "The bones of the first clavigar, Nadoq, keeper of secrets, thief of knowledge, last of the Nalka, first of the Sarkic." Ian, "Nadoq." She takes a shaky breath and says, "Open it." Zhang, "Grand Karcist, if we open it now, we could damage the remains. They could get exposed to air, crumble to dust." Ian says, "Open it, please." Xenophon nods, positing itself near the base. It wedges the fingers of the shell underneath, sliding the lid of the sarcophagus away and gently to the floor. Yeva peers in and Iyun says, "Nadoq. Nadoq." She smiles and says, "My friend." The sarcophagus contains the remarkably well-preserved corpse of a man approximately 7 feet in height. He has 10 sets of arms, spiraling out from the back and torso, folded over his ribcage. The center of his face contains 10 closed eyes. Eva, Jiang, this is the find of a lifetime. We need to secure and preserve this, like, now. Yun reaches down, drawing a bone-carved knife from her robes. She lets them fall to the floor as she clambers in to the massive sarcophagus straddling the body. Oh my gosh, she's diving in. She's diving in naked. Eva says, "Grand Karcist," but she does not react, dragging the knife through the ribcage of the corpse, exposing its chest cavity. The ribcage cracks as she forces it apart with single-minded focus. Jiang, no longer in the pigeon language, "What the fuck is..." She reaches her hand into the abdomen, rooting around until she draws out the bloody heart. It's still bloody? As they watch, it gives a single, slow beat. "No way." Me and Jiang have the same response. He says, "There's no way that thing is alive." Xenophon in the pigeon says, "Grand Karcist, what are you doing?" Yun says, dazedly, "The truth is in the flesh." It's not that. Just because she's just rushing in. She's gonna still do the same ceremony. It's just that she happens to be also naked. It's not that. I'm not allowing that term. Oh my gosh. But the truth is in the flesh, and she's pulled out the heart. As they watch, she bites into the heart, blood spraying onto her face and gushing down her chin and chest. How is it still beating? She devours the heart in a frenzy before suddenly calming herself. Ian, Nadoq. Nadoq. And she smiles. Hello, old friend. She falls forward directly into the corpse's open chest cavity and disappears completely inside. The others are silent as I'm about... Oh my... This was already so wild. What do you mean you disappeared into his chest cavity? Oh my god. Shang. Where the fuck did she just go? Yeva. Ian! Thanks, Ruin. You go ahead and you go back to that. It's a very, very fair reason to run away right now. Oh my gosh. She hastily drops her crutch, Yeva, I guess, and clambers into the sarcophagus, falling into the chest cavity after Ian. What are you how? Oh my gosh. Zhang says, what are we supposed to? Xenophon says, follow them. I think you're supposed to follow them. I don't think Zhang should. I'm just saying. I don't think so. But it rises into the sarcophagus. Xenophon, I mean. The corpse's chest cavity is filled with inky redness. Blood? Question mark? I don't know. Xenophon moves the foot of its shell inside, and it disappears within. It steps forward, and the rest of its body drops through, with Zhang behind. Good. Stay behind, Zhang. Don't do this. Very fair, Turt. And I second that, Hades. Oh my god. What? Xenophon's cameras record nothing but flat redness for 13 seconds. When they regain functionality, you don't want any part of it. It's agreed. Anybody that's watching right now, fair to be leaving, for sure. We blocked that command. I think we stopped. I think we said stop eliminating yourselves. But okay. When they regain functionality, Xenophon is standing in what appears to be some kind of workshop. Ion and Yeva are standing in front of it. The floor is made of smooth brick, covered with dozens of overlapping rugs. Rather than walls, the domed ceiling is held up by pillars. So we are inside a workshop inside a man with 10 eyes and 10 sets of arms. Oh my god. The ceiling is held up by pillars. Through the pillars, a cityscape can be seen. The city's inside this man? Oh my god. The peaked and terraced roofs of countless stone temples and towers, aqueducts passing between them, and the noise of life audible from inside. Everybody's inside this man? Oh my god. Inside the workshop, papyrus scrolls and stacks of inscribed bones are scattered all about, scale models of different constructions, mechanisms, and buildings. A central chalkboard dominates the room. Before it stands Nadoq, now towering over them, very much alive, facing away from them, each hand holding a piece of chalk and contemplating the scrawlings on the board. He's alive? Oh my god. I'm dizzy. Oh my god. Okay. Ian says, Nadoq! Nadoq laughs. It is a rough, grating noise, and Nadoq says, a moment, child. And then Nadoq turns to face them. 10 eyes land on them in shock. A single bony finger rises to point at Ian as Nadoq takes a step back, stumbling into the chalkboard and sending it crashing to the floor. It falls onto a model of something. It shatters, but he does not react. Staring straight at Ian with wide eyes, he speaks with a shaky, aged voice, alternately leaning forward to peer at Ian and rearing back from her. You are not part of this memory. No, it cannot be you. You are different, long-haired and lean. But no, I see your eyes. Those gray eyes. Ian says, it is me. Nadoq says, it is. Curse it all, it is. Ian says, I had forgotten you. Nadoq eases himself into a stack of books. He raises one pair of hands, resting his face in them. Nadoq says, I prayed to whatever god would still take me that you would. Ian blinks, surprised. What? Nadoq says, you do not remember, do you? Ian says, my mind is lost to me, old friend, hazy fragments. I have forgotten who I am, who we are, who we were. Nadoq says, good, let it be lost. Let the fires eat this place up. Let there be nothing but ashes left. Ian says, what are you talking about? Where are we? She turns, approaching the balcony. She seems drawn forward, not under her own power. She looks out over the fantastic vista of an ancient cityscape. Figures in hide robes, sarkites, are spread all around, milling through the boulevards and streets, congregating into temples and speaking on rooftop gardens. The market buzzes below, shouts of offers and cries from animals rising up to the workshop. An amber sun hangs low in the sky, casting the whole city in oranges and yellows. Guttural singing and chanting floats through the air. Ian says, wait, I remember this. This is Aditum. Yes, this is my city. Abruptly, Nadoq leaps up to his feet. No, you must not see this place. This is a memory in a memory. This is best left in the past where it belongs. He waves two hands, and suddenly the group are no longer in the workshop. Instead, they are standing in the Sarkic encampment again, though now it is night. Ian says, Nadoq, I needed to see that. The memories were returning. I could feel them. Nadoq says, I know. My hope was to free you from our past, my friend, to allow our people a clean beginning. This was my gift to you, an open future. Ian says, so what, you robbed me of my past? Nadoq says, to those who know how to yield the alchemy of the old masters, nothing is impossible. Thank you for the hydrate, and I am hydrating. I was just as confused how there was a whole sun inside this guy, but I guess it's just that it was a memory? I'm thoroughly confused. Anyway. Anything is possible is what he said. Yes, and then Yun says, your attempt was imperfect. Nadoq, I have never claimed to be a master, only an eternal student. What do you remember? Ian says, you, now, next to me, in the dirt under an amber sky, wearing tattered rags, slave master's whip, cutting lashes across our backs, our blood mixing in the dirt. There were so many of us, building their city for them, brick by brick. Nadoq, we were the slaves of the Deva. But that was 10 lifetimes ago. Ian, there were 5 of us in that quarry, vines wrapping around our ankles, chaining us together, slamming a pick into the stone over and over until the calluses on my hands burst and bled. You were there, but different. Nadoq lifts his face out of his hands and smiles weakly, and says, I learned the language of the old masters, stole their knowledge from them, devoured pilfered parchments in the slave quarters by faint moonlight. And when the drivers found out, they dragged you out of your bed, roused the rest of us, and made us watch while they pinned you to the ground and pressed a hot iron against your eyes. Nadoq, who was there in the quarry? Ian, me, you, blind, and I don't know. I feel I should know them, but they're faint shapes, silhouettes, working with me when my pick struck something soft, and the ground began to bleed. Nadoq, the old beast, the mangled god. Ian, the devourer. Yaldabaoth. Nadoq, no, not yet, not then. Ian, he was whispering to me. I could hear him begging for release, for aid. Whispered promises of power and control, if only we would free him. The power to make the old masters serve us. The power to make myself undying. Nadoq, you would have. I heard it in your voice, seduced by the power until I wrapped my fingers around your arm. Do you remember what I said, Ian? What you did? Ian says in quotes, no gods, no masters. I remember now. I knelt, I took my knife, cut warm flesh off bone and bit into it, blood spilling from my lips where the old beast moaned. Nadoq says, how did it taste? Ian, divine. There's silence, and Ian says, "You live again?" Nadoq, "Look around. This is not life." Xenophon, "This is not the encampment. On closer inspection, the Sarkites are wearing more traditional hides and robes. The tents are not supplemented with plastic tarps, and the stele is nowhere in sight. The Sarkites also appear different, with more excessive deformations in the distance. To the south, the dim glow of fires on the horizon are visible." Ian, "This is a memory? Your memory?" Nadoq, "The memory I am trapped in. The moment we walked away from Black Adatum, Sa'arn, Uruk, myself, Luvjatar, you, wrapped in my arms." Ian, "What?" Nadoq walks to the edge of the encampment. The Sarkites are packing their wagons, feeding their horses, clearly preparing to leave under the cover of darkness. They do not register the group as they pass, approaching the cliffside. Nadoq, "The city was destroyed by the traitor. We ran in the night, collecting who we could." They reach the cliffside. Standing atop it, Xenophon can see clear to the source of the fire, a great walled city, terraced stone temples and high aqueducts. Huge bonfires the size of buildings burn, sending black smoke spiraling up into the air. Around the city, a vast black horde has surrounded the walls, though the distance makes it impossible to see further details. Xenophon, "Sarkites, those who walk. You were walking away from Black Adatum." Ian reaches forward, raising her hand to Nadoq's robes. Her hand only comes up to his waist. Ian, "I need to know what we were, who I was. Tell me what happened to us, please." And he shakes his head, and his voice cracks when he says, "I cannot, little thing." Ian, "You are my keeper of knowledge. How can you not?" Nadoq, "Our people have been betrayed once already. It nearly destroyed us. Forget this place. Forget your past. Find a future and live for it." Ian, "We are lost, friend. A dying people, robbed of past, present, and future. We need to know who we were. Please, Nadoq." Nadoq says, "Then walk. Walk the path of the bone as we walked." Ian, "The path." Nadoq, "Our footsteps, our history. See where your loyal Clavigars fell and died while running from the destruction of our beloved Adatum. Lay eyes upon your sins and errors. We never wanted this, Ian. We wanted to be buried in the city of our birth." One of his hands points in the direction of the fires in the distance. From here, the city is little more than a dull orange glow. Several of the Sarkites stare at it in rapt horror. A handful are sobbing. Ian, "Black Adatum, this cannot have been my fault. It cannot." Nadoq, "Unearth the shallow graves. Collect our bones. Take us to the city we built and bury us there. Only then you will know yourself, and only then you will know yourself can I forgive you. And only when you know yourself can I forgive you." Ian says, "Where do I go?" Nadoq says, "Look inward, Ian. The memories are still there. For all my knowledge, I was never perfect." He smiles sadly, kneeling down from his massive height. His 10 hands reach forward, wrapping Ian in a tight hug. Nadoq says, "I hope to meet you again, one day." Ian says, No, please, don't leave me. Please don't leave me again." And the skin begins to slough off Nadoq's arms, the muscle beneath rotting away. The entire scene begins to rot and decompose, falling to pieces. Xenophon's cameras fail again. When they reactivate, all 4 of them are standing outside the sarcophagus. The only things left in the sarcophagus are blackened, charred bones. All parties are silent as Ian stares at the bones wordlessly. Xenophon says, "Grand Karcist?" The Grand Karcist collapses to the floor. "Oh, did you really? Did you bonk him so thoroughly?" "No, I think he ran from this creepy stuff. Oh my gosh." Whew. But that is the end of that log. And this is the little wrap up before the end of the chapter. Green voice, who we understand to probably be someone on the O5 team or something like that, but not one of the immediately relevant people, because otherwise they would remember this themselves, says, "This is illuminating. I had no idea there was such a schism at play here." And then, "The traitor," in quotes. Any idea who that could be referring to? And our red text, who we understand to be Xenophon, says, "I feel it should bring something up in my memory, but it doesn't." Green says, "Welcome to the world for the rest of us." Anyway, I have a pretty good guess. Red says, "Yes?" Green says, "A mysterious figure that destroyed the capital of this sprawling empire?" It sounds pretty familiar. And then there's chapter 2. Alright. And that is all we have for tonight. It is about time that I wanted to wrap up, but I'll do some redeems if people want redeems, and either way, I'll just chat for a minute. So let's do a just real quick chat. What do we think of that big, intense stuff? We got 4 more chapters of this story. 4 more. Chapter 2 looks just as thick as chapter 1. I imagine 3, 4, 5 are shorter, or they're just filled with addendums as well, so that they're also very long. I don't know. Thank you for joining, and especially it is so great to have you here. I am so glad that we can have more time with our mod that is in the other time zone. I am glad that we can get some more time with you. Thank you so much for joining us for this. I hope it's not like a big pest for your time tonight. I hope it's not a problem. And I do plan to do a few more like afternoony time streams so that you can hang out as well. I have to make my schedule for this next coming week, but I will warn you guys that I think it's gonna be less streams, or maybe it's only afternoony streams, but you know, I'm gonna try. Hey, you got 19. I've just been half listening as I play a game, but I think it's great. It's a very intense story, but yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. I should probably say we have read part of it. Let's say part 1 done in my little note. Whoa! Someone redeemed something while I was looking away. Of course, humming. Okay, we'll do some humming. I'm on board. And then with that, we will wrap up with stream, I think. Okay. What I will also say, like I said, I have to finish my singing. Oh, okay, humming and singing frog. I will need to work on my schedule to upload it for you guys. I plan on doing that hopefully tonight before I go to bed early. Yeah, we'll hopefully get that done. But I know that I am not doing anything tomorrow, so you will not. Oh my gosh! Stop. No, I did not say that. I definitely didn't say that. Thank you. And I mean it that I have to go to bed quite early tonight, so I might need to refuse things if there's any more, is what I will warn you. But I was saying I'm not doing stream tomorrow. I will hopefully get stuff sorted so that I can update you guys soon. And you will have the stream so that you can totally redeem all the things then. I'm thinking that we will do some less story heavy, more chatty. Yeah. I redeem Eeps. Aw, thank you. How you doing, Lonk? Dead? No, don't be dead! Oh wait, Mask said that you redeemed the funeral. Oh, I guess you are dead. Oh no! Okay, I'm gonna do the humming. Then we'll do singing frog and tuning forks before we wrap up. Okay, here we go. No, I started twice. is true. Ads are gonna start very shortly. I'm gonna run the 20-second ad now. Or 30-second ad now. And so that you don't get shocked. Here we go. Arctic! Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm running the ad, but I'm also saying thank you very much and let's drop some money frogs for Arctic. Okay, here we go. Oh no, that was Mask! You little shit. You little shit. Thank you. I'm on the final page of the bone proposal. This is really well done. It feels like the closest thing to a religious text you could find in an SCP space. Ooh. Intriguing. This is Dew reading ahead for us. I like it. Ooh. Thank you very much, Mask, for gifting to Arctic. The way the text pops up, I thought it was Arctic. It was Mask gifting to Arctic. It's very sweet. It's very sweet. Thank you very much for that. I will get back to another song to hum now that we're out of the short ad. It's good to hum the tunes that don't hurt me when I even have a frog in my throat. Because I can feel like I'm like, that's not usually the tone I sing it at, but I just sing it at this one, and I'm like, oh, that feels better though. You could hear it in the first one where my voice kind of cracked at a couple spots because there was a frog in my throat preventing smooth. But it was nice still, I think. Okay. I don't eat them, they just don't know personal space. This is a problem. I had a hitchhiker from a link. I joke. Oh, but I did set up more stuff. Check it out. I have hotkeys properly set up here. I've got a lot of them if you didn't notice me doing the before. Oh, it's so nice. It's so nice. Yes, the froggies. Okay, we're gonna do a singing frog, speaking of, and then tuning forks before we wrap up. They came out now that spooky story's over. Yeah, exactly. They're not here for spooky stories. I've said that before. The frogs are not joining for spooky stories. We do frogs. We have singing frog. Oh, did I not put... I thought that I... Oh, I don't know. Anyway. Let's do singing frog. Bam. What about the bread? Oh, funny you ask. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. I always hit the wrong button. I need to mix them properly. That's where my bread is. This is for when Pt.2 Hellmouth pops in and always says Mlem. Mom. And got the tongue. Yes. I also have other fun ones. There's lots of fun ones. Anyway, okay. Here is singing frog time for Do. Away we go. Someone check on the goose. I think the goose is having a stroke. We're saying word salad over here a little bit. Does anyone have a goose translator? Very relevant. Seriously. What's going on? Call the ambulance. Oh, damn it. Salad. I knew them once. Oh, God. He's not doing good, guys. I don't know what's happening. Let's get this goose to bed. He's not making any more sense. Okay, tuning forks. And then we can wrap up. Oh, what? Oh, what? Do. Goose, are you tipsy? Maybe that's it. Okay, here we go. We're just gonna do the one. I think this is at a safe frequency for tinnitus, because I know that was a thing that we had talked about when I set up mine at home. Fork. Yes, it's fork. Here we go. Alright, there was our tuning forks, both on my mic and the 3DO there at the end. You missed the kalimba. Wild thing for you to say as we wrap up, because one of the things I'm doing when I'm busy tomorrow is I'm making sure I get my kalimba and Herbert hydrate. I'm picking them up so that I have them here. And the tea. Yes, you're right. I need to also grab tea. We need tea. Kalimba! Yes, we'll have kalimba, we'll have Herbert, we'll have tea, and I'll be setting up more schedule. Grab the skunk. I think not. Can I tell you, the other day, just a bit before I left, Mask, you should also hydrate. Also, Lahong, who may or may not be tipsy. No, everybody should hydrate. Everybody should hydrate. I will hydrate, but I need to finish thought. I had left, and I was just leaving caves, And as I exit, as we were talking about in the D&D stream, who do I almost run on? A goose. I mean, not a goose. Brain, a skunk, as Goose has suggested. But luckily, the little guy sensed my whimsy and did not spray nothing. Simply waddled away with a very cute little skunk butt, and I had to just keep an eye on and make sure when I went back that there was not Goose. Thankfully, there was not. It was very nerve-wracking. But I was like, wow, I was so close. I mean it. I was within a foot, less than that, of this little skunk. Because I couldn't see the little guy under the bush. And then I did. And it was like, oh. But it was okay. And he waddled away. Waddle. You're not wrong. And they waddled away with a fluffy skunk butt. It was very nice that I did not get sprayed. It was good. And it was very cute to see. Till the very next day, you got 3 pounds of grapes. I got a bag of grapes too. I didn't want to say it to you, but since you brought it up, I have to go eat my grapes. That's part of dinners. Okay, I will see you guys in a couple days probably. Let's all hydrate. Make sure we take care of ourselves. Amber, were you lurking this whole time? Oh, you. What did you think of that messed up stuff? Grapes and cheese are always, they are good. Maybe I could grab cheese. Anyway, let's go to bed. Let's all eat. Who should we raid? Mayhaps. Mischievous little tiger. It's so cute. Oh, little pink tiger. Grapes from your mom. Stop! Good to listen on this side. Yeah. Immediately bashing. Such a pest. Oh my gosh. Let's do raid messages. My goodness. And there we go. And I'll also say raid 2. You say Beck? Is that your recommendation for raid? Usually we turn to the almighty Fett, who is aware of everybody all the time. But I'm gonna see if there's someone that stands out to me real quick. As usual, I will not be able to see you now. So here is the ending screen. I can no longer see chat. Now it's saying how I'm back. Oh, well, you are back and we are leaving. I'm sorry. Let's go figure out the raid. Well, Hyacinth is doing some reading and typing. I think that this is definitely the way to go. Let's go say hi to Hyacinth, who joined us for the birthday stream. Okay, we start our raid. Make sure you've got your messages copy and pasted. I cannot properly see. Someone rolled a 14 though. I can read that. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and say hi to Hyacinth. Everybody have good eats, whatever time zone. Happy time zone. I'm gonna go get my dinners, go to bed early, do my adventure tomorrow, and rescue the lovely Herbert so that he can spread his cult ways to the little lovely singing frog here, which I'm scared of. But it may happen. Alright, let's go. You better be ready. I'm hitting raid now. Alright, bye-bye everybody. Let's go.